Hello again. This is going to be my bit on, I'm not sure whether you guys are familiar with the classics. If you're not, if you're about my age and you're about 30, then you should be familiar with the classics. If you're not, then you really sort of check yourself. I'm going to be talking about Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, which are one of my favourite films. You will get a bit of a weird, as you can see, there's a bit of sunlight on me, which seems to be coming around. So at the moment, I'm in shadow, and then I assume over time I will be in sunlight, but I've got to get back to work soon, so the world doesn't stop for how the sun revolves. So I mean, if you've seen Bill and Ted, either of the Bill and Ted, and you know this is why. If you've seen that, you know how amazing Keanu Reeves was as Ted. Alex Winter does get to play second fiddle a little bit as Bill. But I don't know if he's any worse. He's just a different character, and I think also because he didn't get famous after. And I think what I like about Ted is that Keanu Reeves is not the best actor. I think we can all agree on that. He is, even in The Matrix and various others, is like, whoa. And he's not the best, but you know, it just goes to show you can be not the best actor, but at the same time, I will remember how he portrayed Ted till the day I die, because he was playing an idiot surfer dude, so he was perfect, but not the idiot surfer dude that was an absolute idiot. So he was brilliant, really good, and I think Bogus Journey, I think Excellent Adventure, if you watch it in retrospect, it's a very, very good piece of film, and you can almost watch it. It's very, very serious to a degree, and you can watch it because you're already invested in the characters from Excellent Adventure, and you can really watch it and enjoy it and see how it sets up all the history. It's almost like, it's so serious, it sets up all the base of history. So then when it comes to Bogus Journey, it can just go fucking crazy with it. But saying that, I know Barry Norman, if you don't know who Barry Norman is, then you shouldn't be watching this video. Barry Norman in film 93 or 87 or whenever it was, said this is an absolute brilliant film. Excellent Adventure. He loved it. He really loved it. Which is not something you'd have thought Barry Norman would have liked. The entire Excellent Adventure was just like, there was never one point where Bill or Ted ever didn't say, "Whoa, excellent! Whoa, what?" You know, and that type of thing. So to be like a middle-aged 50-year-old man, but it was such a good film that it was just brilliant. And Rufus really good, George Carlin, if you know. But I must admit, I didn't take to it as much. There's a woman over there with browny black hair with these gold hoop earrings, which I must admit I like. Stops me in my tracks. But I think I personally can watch Excellent Adventure in retrospect from Bogus Journey, purely because Bogus Journey was just amazing, was such like twice a better film than not, nothing bad about Excellent Adventure at all, but Bogus Journey was just, you hadn't seen anything like it. And you watched it, and it was so fucking epic. I'm going to turn, I don't want sound to get wasted in this. It was so fucking epic. It was unbelievable. I went and saw it with my dad, and Even my dad, who's like can be a real stick in the mud at times, thought it was absolutely brilliant. It was absolutely amazing. I don't think even now I've ever seen a film like it. It didn't really have a point, and it wasn't like, oh, this is really epic because there's some big civil galactic war and, you know, the Empire's been blah 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 blah, curbing the Trade Federation and whatever. It wasn't anything like that. It started off with Bill and Ted just being in their band as usual and being shit. And it just was absolutely amazing, and that's why I think you can watch Excellent Adventure as a precursor to it. And although I don't think it's anywhere near as good as a film, and I think it was just because they were also starting off as well. So they made. I know if I ever made a film, I'm hoping my second film would be a lot better. But that didn't mean they did an amazing job setting the scene, and then when they did get to Bogus Journey, it was immense. And basically, I don't know if you know anything about Bill or Ted, but the basic idea of Bill and Ted is that there is these two stoner surfer dudes around the time of Wayne's World. People banging like crazy around me. And what I really liked was that the whole point was that in the future was perfect and serene and peaceful, and planets aligned, and there was no hate, there was no war, there was no problems. And the whole reason that this was because of these two people's music, and they were called Wild Stallions. And it's funny because in the films they're just like proper 80s jock rock band, and they're nothing special at all. They can't even play. They cannot even play. But it is said that Wild Stallions align the planets, stop wars, bring peace and future to the world, and if they don't succeed at doing that, then the world that we know will crumble into existence. I mean, it's just absolutely brilliant. And when you come to the actual Bill and Ted, I'm sure you know, I mean most people know, Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves were just absolutely brilliant, and it's just a fun comedy based around like such an epic story. And what really strikes it off is probably Denomalous, because they constantly shift between being really serious and really don't take this seriously. And if you'll know from the first film, they used to go they used to like do like these little 80s twiddly solos, and they could do that from their hands. And they were good meaning chaps, although they were complete idiots. And Keanu Reeves, I mean, he looked good in the first one. I don't know if I even had a little like male crush on him before I even knew what a male crush was. But he was epic. He had this like floppy kind of curtained 90s hair, this black, that just fitted perfectly in front of his right eye. Similar to Edward Furlong in the Terminator 2, and I just thought that he's my god. And I went to the hairdresser. I said, "Can I with short hair like this?" And they said, "How do you want your hair?" And I said, "You know, here's a photo like this." And they said, "Well, you got to have long hair in the first place." But it absolutely brilliant. He was like, and no matter how stupid he was, he always had his hair dangling in front of him, and it absolutely fucking brilliant. And he was just such a symbol of like 94, him with Edward Furlong and everything else. Absolutely brilliant. And you did trust in them. But I loved how it started. It said in the future, and they all had their crazy, I think it only said like 2008 or something like 5 years ago. They had all their crazy foam shoes and everything. And there was this bad guy called Denomalous, And he came on and he said, no longer will we be ruled by the legacy of these two fools. No longer will we be judged by the sound of, and instead of doing like the because it was like he was the bad guy, he went dun 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 dun. And then he goes, what is the order? Peace. What is the and how do we achieve it? Death to Bill and Ted. And it was just, it's like the first 20 seconds of the film, like death to Bill and Ted. And it was just, he had his head shaved and he was like, clearly he didn't want to be all this hippie, blah, blah. And he was like, dun, 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 dun. And then he goes, meet my new creations. And he brought on basically Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter as they were and said, these are my new robot. They are basically good. No, evil robot Bill and Ted. Evil robot Bill and Ted. Not Bill and Ted. Evil robot Bill and Ted. So he brought them on and they were like just the same as normal Bill and Ted. Only they were like evil robot. And they were like, how's it going, dude? And he was like, ugh, for God's sake. And he was just like, show everyone what you are. And they literally, and this freaked me out at the time, they grabbed the head and they like, you pulled out. And it was really good, you know, for the early 90s. Pulled out and then just had this weird animatronic robot face. And they were like, and then they pulled that skin back over them. And then they were Bill and Ted again. And he was like, I hate them. I hate robot replicas of them. And they were like, you made us, dude. And he's like, ugh. But then he goes, send them back in the circuits of time. So he sent them back in the circuits of time. And he sent them, and then they were like, aim for the cat, dude. Aim for the cat, dude. And at this point, Bill and Ted are trying to get into the battle of the bands. And Bill and Ted, they don't drink or smoke weed or anything, but they were still the kind of Wayne's Worldy type surf type people. And they just wanted to get into the battle of bands. And funnily enough, the woman who was Miss Wardrobe, who looked unbelievably stunning in this skin tight lycra black zipped up bodysuit type thing, was their chance in. And she was played by Pam Grier, who was famous for being Jackie Brown. So there's a bit of trivia for you. And she said, I'll give you a shot. And they said, okay, fair enough, even though they were absolutely fucking shit. And they went to, they got sent back, the evil robot Bill and Ted got sent back, and they took them up to the same, like, bit of desert that, like, they took Captain Kirk up to in Star Wars 40 years ago and chucked him off completely. And then they died, and then they went to saw the Grim Reaper, and then they had this old bit where they had to play him at a game, and they were like, he said, if you play me at a game of my choice, you will win, and I will take you back to the afterlife. And obviously you think this is the Grim Reaper and you're expecting, you know, it to be some proper game. They chose Battleship, Connect 4, what's the one where you stand over people? A Twister, some American football game, and he lost every single one. And it's brilliant, and they won every single thing, and then they had to take him back. So he had to take him back, and he's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Death. William Sandler, his name is, absolutely brilliant. This is, honestly, if you haven't seen this film, you need to go and watch this film. It's absolutely brilliant. It's so epic at every point, but it's so stupid at the same time. So he takes him back to the real world, tries to connect with his stepmom, tries to connect with his stepdad. Doesn't get anywhere, and then they end up building good robot us's, because you've got evil robot usses. The Battle of the Bands is still taking place. Then you've got Bill and Ted. You've got good robot usses. You've got evil robot usses and good robot usses. Basically, evil robot usses look just like normal Bill and Ted. They're basically just humans, like, you know, animatronics type of Terminator 2 type underneath, just to make it fun. And then they have to build. They go, and basically when they get thrown off that cliff, they get taken to heaven. And I love films about heaven and gods and all sorts. And they get taken to heaven and they get put in front of the divine person, and it has this beautiful music. It's kind of like this, and obviously that was shit, but watch it yourself and listen to it, and it's absolutely brilliant. And they literally just go before God and they just said, we've literally just been killed by bad robot usses. We've had our babes stolen from the 16th century who we adore, and they've been stolen, and we need to build good robot usses to destroy the bad robot usses. Please, can you help us? And he floats his shiny disc down, and he's like, station. And this is God. It's brilliant. Station is this huge, intelligent Martian who's two aliens who can turn into one alien, and he's got a impressive Martian butt that everyone has to comment on. And he's like, station. He's brilliant. I love Station. And sometimes when people say to me, I love it when people say something to me and I just go, Station. And if they know what I'm on about, I just think that's absolutely brilliant. My best friends always know what Station is. Station. Because if you haven't got anything else to say, Station. Because that's what they're called, Station. And they build good robot ushes out of like Hoover parts, and they're like, how's it going? They're brilliant. And then they go to the Battle of the Bands, and they're like, how's it going, good robot usses? And they're like, Station. And they're like, and they do like this rock'em sock'em robots bit where they go poof, and they knock their heads clean off, and they kill him, and then everyone's like clapping, and then Denomulus turns up. If you haven't been listening, he was the bad guy from the start, and he's pretty pissed off. And in the end, they cuff him up, and they play the most. Basically, it's Kiss. Kiss do the guitar solo, and I will put this on my page. I know I've been saying that I will for all the other stuff, but I will put it on because basically they pretend, Bill and Ted pretend like they've learnt this. They get to this point and they still haven't even. They've done all of this shit, and they're supposed to be this band that aligns planets and everything. And they get to this point and they still haven't even learned how to play guitar at all. So they go into their time machine and they go off, and then literally the second they disappear, they come back and they go, dude, that was a fast 18 months of guitar training. And they look like ZZ Top. And they've got little Ted on the back and little Bill, and they've obviously had a nice thing with the princesses, with the babes, and they've both, you go, that was a fast 18 months of guitar training. And then they start and they off fucking Rufus does this. When they start, Rufus goes, and in fairness, it's Steve Vai. If you know Steve Vai is, he's a guitarist. He's the one who does the guitar solo, but it is fucking hot. Watch, I will put it on my page, and please watch it. It is unbelievable. Before then, it goes into God Gave Rock and Roll to You, and it's like, gonna put my thing. Someone always has to come past me whenever I do something like this. And then it, oh god, do you know what? I shut this window while that woman walked past. I completely forgot to shut the other window. I think it goes bum 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 bum. And if you know this tune, God gave rock and roll to you, gave rock and roll to you, put it in the soul to everyone. And it was just brilliant. So just, you know, just for me, it summed up loving like metal and rock as a kid. And other than the fact that it was an absolutely amazing film anyway. But God gave rock and roll to everyone. And I'm someone who is probably more, even at this point, more into my dance. Like, I love my hardcore, my techno, my gabba, my drum and bass. You know, the old school, the happy pianos and everything. But I adore rock and roll and metal and, you know, that type of thing. All the, you know, Led Zeppelins and Deftones and your Korns and your Marilyn Manson, your Nine Inch Nails, your Chemical Brothers, your Metallicas, your Panteras, basically just everyone. And at that time, it was just brilliant. God gave rock and roll to you, and I love it. Because God's always seemed to have been shown as a really boring kind of specimen power, and I love the whole God gave rock and roll to you. You can love your metal and your rock and be a metaler and not like how society is, while still really like loving, you know, a higher power, God or whatever it is. I think that's brilliant. So I love God gave rock and roll to you, and it was just such spirit. I love it. It was just amazing. But, you know, I think most people were already quite aware of that song before that film happened anyway, but they never heard this amazing intro into it. And it was brilliant. And you had good robot usses, evil robot usses. You had Rock'em Sock'em good robot usses. You had evil Bill and Ted. You had normal Bill and Ted. You had Pam Grier, who was Rufus. Just a brilliant film. Honestly, just watch it. Go online, type in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, and you will. I don't think there's one person who won't think that was absolutely amazing. So watch it. All right, bye.